A lot of people think a butyrate supplement is just a butyrate supplement, but the form may matter more than the label. The big surprise is that plain oral butyrate can get absorbed early, before much of it reaches your colon, while Tributyrin is designed to stay more stable on the way down. That means if you are trying to support the lower gut, sodium butyrate and Tributyrin are not really identical twins. By the end of this video, you will know what sodium butyrate and Tributyrin actually are, how your body makes butyrate on its own, when food should come first, when a supplement might be worth discussing with your clinician, and what the research can honestly say right now. One simple change you can make today is to build one meal around a real fiber source, like beans, oats, lentils, or cooled potatoes, because your own gut bacteria make butyrate from fermenting fiber. And before you change supplements or medications, talk with a qualified clinician, especially if you are pregnant, have inflammatory bowel disease, or take several prescription drugs.
Think of butyrate as a fuel pellet your gut microbes make for the cells lining your colon. You do not swallow most of your butyrate from food. You mostly manufacture it inside yourself when certain gut bacteria break down fermentable fibers that reach the large intestine. Sodium butyrate is basically butyrate paired with sodium, often put into capsules. Tributyrin is different. It is 3 butyrate molecules attached to a glycerol backbone, like a compact delivery package. That structure makes it more stable during the trip through the stomach, and then digestive enzymes called pancreatic lipases help break it apart later in the gut. Why do people care about butyrate in the first place? First, it is a major energy source for colon cells. In plain English, it helps feed the lining of your lower gut. Second, it seems to help support barrier function, meaning the gut lining may stay better organized and less leaky under normal conditions. Third, it acts like a signaling molecule. That means it does not just sit there as fuel. It also sends chemical messages that may influence immune activity and inflammation. Those mechanisms are well supported in lab and animal work, and parts of them are supported in human biology too. But the jump from mechanism to guaranteed health outcome is where people often oversell it.
Your body does make butyrate naturally, but only if you give your gut microbes something to work with. Low fiber intake, a less diverse gut microbiome, recent antibiotic use, some restrictive diets, and rapid diet swings can all lower production. Very low carbohydrate or ultra-processed eating patterns may reduce the fermentable fibers that reach the colon. On top of that, the location matters. You can have plenty of fiber on paper, but still not produce much butyrate if your gut bacteria are depleted or if your digestion is off. This is why food is still the foundation. Adults generally need about 22 to 34 grams of fiber a day, with broader guideline language often summarized as about 14 grams per 1,000 calories. Good starting sources include about 150 grams, or 1 cup, of cooked lentils or black beans, about 8 grams of fiber each, about 40 grams, or 1 cup dry, of oats, around 4 grams, 1 medium pear or apple with skin, around 4 to 6 grams, about 150 grams, or 1 cup of raspberries, around 8 grams, and about 150 grams or 1 cup of broccoli, around 5 grams. Resistant starch can help too. That is the type of starch that resists digestion in the small intestine and reaches the colon where bacteria can ferment it. Practical examples are cooked and cooled potatoes, cooked and cooled rice, beans, green bananas, and oats. Increase fiber gradually and drink enough fluids, because pushing fiber up too fast can leave you bloated, crampy, or constipated.
So when might a supplement make sense? Usually not as a first move if your main issue is simply that your diet is low in fiber. Food gives you the raw material, plus other nutrients and a broader effect on the microbiome. A supplement starts to make more sense when you have already improved food quality, but you still have persistent gut symptoms, recent antibiotic disruption, a very limited diet, or a clinician has a specific reason to test a short trial. This is also where the sodium butyrate versus Tributyrin question gets interesting. Sodium butyrate is the more familiar form in older gut supplement products and some human studies. A practical downside is that free butyrate is absorbed fairly early, so less may reach the colon unless the product uses a special matrix, coating, or delayed release system.
Some studies and reviews note typical sodium butyrate use around 150 to 300 milligrams per day in microencapsulated products, although some clinical research has used much higher doses, such as 4 grams a day for a few weeks in small metabolic studies. That huge dose difference is one reason you should not compare labels casually. Different products are trying to do different things.
Tributyrin is more like a slow-release package for butyrate. In vitro work suggests a meaningful portion can survive upper GI transit and remain available deeper in the gut. In one recent model, roughly half of the tributyrin dose remains stable enough to enter the colon, depending on the form used. Human clinical data are still early, but tributyrin is getting attention because it appears more stable, often smells less harsh, and may require fewer capsules than some sodium butyrate products. In the real world, many tributyrin products are soft gels in the 200 to 350 milligram range per soft gel, often taken once or twice daily with meals, while sodium butyrate products can range widely and may cost a bit less per bottle. A rough retail snapshot suggests many sodium butyrate products land around about $32 to $46 per month, while tributyrin commonly lands closer to about $36 to $80 per month, depending on dose and brand. If you do try a supplement, quality matters. Look for third-party testing, a clear amount per capsule or soft gel, and a delivery description that tells you whether it is microencapsulated, enteric-coated, delayed release, or a tributyrin soft gel. Take it with food if the label says to, especially for tributyrin, since fat digestion and pancreatic enzymes are part of how it gets broken down. What may block or reduce the benefit? Poor adherence, taking random megadoses, using a low-quality product, or expecting a butyrate capsule to overcome a chronically low-fiber pattern all by itself. Also, recent antibiotic use may change the microbiome side of the equation, which means the response can be unpredictable.
Now, who is most likely to have low butyrate production? Not a deficiency in the vitamin sense, because butyrate is not an essential nutrient like vitamin C, but low production risk. Clues can include a very low fiber intake, constipation, low plant variety, recent antibiotic use, inflammatory gut conditions, long-term ultra-processed eating, or a diet so restricted that little fermentable fiber reaches the colon. A simple self-check is this. Over the last week, did you average at least 1 serving of beans or lentils most days, 1 high-fiber fruit daily, 1 whole grain like oats, and a few cups of vegetables? If not, food is probably your first intervention. If you want to discuss testing with your doctor, remember, there is no widely used standard blood test for butyrate deficiency. Stool short-chain fatty acid tests exist, but they are not a mainstream diagnostic standard for routine care and can be hard to interpret. More practical medical workups depend on your symptoms. If you have chronic diarrhea, bleeding, unexplained weight loss, or night symptoms, discuss stool calprotectin, celiac testing, and basic labs for anemia or malabsorption. If constipation or bloating is the issue, your clinician may focus more on thyroid status, iron, medications, hydration, diet history, and whether pelvic floor or motility issues are in play.
Here is what this looks like for real people. If you are a budget eater living on convenience foods, skip the fancy bottle for 2 weeks and spend that money on oats, beans, lentils, frozen vegetables, and fruit first. If your stools and bloating improve just from getting into the 25 to 30 gram fiber range, that tells you a lot. If you are vegan, you may already have a good setup for butyrate production if you eat enough legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds, fruit, and vegetables. But a vegan diet full of refined grains and snack foods can still be low in the fibers that matter. If you have a health condition like IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, or you recently finished antibiotics, do not self-diagnose from social media. This is the group where a short, supervised supplement trial may be more reasonable, but it is also the group where symptoms can mimic bigger problems. What does the evidence actually say? For the basic biology, strong. We know butyrate is made from microbial fermentation of fiber. We know colon cells use it as fuel, and we know it can affect barrier and immune signaling. For sodium butyrate and tributyrin as supplements improving specific diseases, the evidence is mixed to early. Some human studies are encouraging, but many are small, short, or focused on biomarkers rather than big clinical outcomes. One 4-week sodium butyrate study included only 19 men and found no significant systemic anti-inflammatory effect.
A pilot Tributyrin study in healthy humans reported reduced high-sensitivity C-reactive protein after 21 days, which is interesting, but far from a final verdict. And a recent Tributyrin paper showing better lower gut delivery was mainly an in vitro model, not a large patient trial.
What we still do not know is the big stuff viewers usually want to know. Which people benefit most? What dose works best? Is colon delivery more important than bloodstream levels? Does Tributyrin truly outperform microencapsulated sodium butyrate in meaningful human outcomes, not just delivery logic? And how long should someone stay on it? Those answers are still being worked out. Safety is where you want to stay boring and careful. The most likely side effects are digestive. Think gas, bloating, cramping, nausea, looser stools, or sometimes constipation if you also increase fiber, but not fluids. These are more likely when you start too high. More serious reactions are uncommon, but stop and get medical help if you develop severe abdominal pain, vomiting, hives, facial swelling, wheezing, blood in stool, black stool, or rapid worsening of diarrhea. Interaction data are limited, which does not mean interactions are impossible. It means they have not been well mapped. That is exactly why caution matters if you take multiple medications, have pancreatic disease, major GI disease, or are pregnant or breastfeeding.
Let's do a fast myth check. Myth 1. Eating butter is the best way to raise butyrate. Not really. Butter contains some butyrate, but fiber-rich plant foods are the better long game. Myth 2. A supplement replaces fiber. It does not. Fiber feeds the system that makes butyrate and supports microbiome diversity. Myth 3. Tributyrin is proven better for every person. Not yet. It is promising for delivery, but the head-to-head human outcome data are still too limited for sweeping claims. So here is the bottom line. Sodium butyrate and Tributyrin are related, but they are not the same in how they travel through your gut. Butyrate itself is important. Your body mostly makes it from fiber, and most people should start with food and daily habits before chasing a capsule. If you and your clinician do try a supplement, sodium butyrate may be the more familiar and sometimes lower cost option, while Tributyrin may have a delivery advantage and often comes in easier to tolerate soft gels, but the evidence for both is still developing. Your action for today is simple. Count your fiber honestly and add one real fermentable fiber food to your next meal. Then give that habit a week before deciding you need a supplement. And tell me in the comments, have you tried sodium butyrate or Tributyrin, and did you notice anything with bloating, bowel regularity, or tolerance? Share your experiences in the comments and let us know what supplement you would like to learn about next.